When we come back, Dennis Felkin will deliver his first 1980 forecast, and he'll look back at the weather of the 1970s. Certainly, the end of a decade is a time for nostalgia and reminiscing.
That's true, even in weather. For the past week, we've been looking at the way it was during the 70s, and no matter who you are or what you were doing, the weather had something to do with it. Well, here's a look at the big weather events in the Twin Cities.
Without a doubt, the biggest weather event in the Twin Cities was the Great Blizzard of '75. Called the Blizzard of the Century, it came through in the night of January 10th and all but paralyzed the Twin Cities and Minnesota. 1 to 2 feet of snow was recorded, and 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts helped to pile the snow into 10-foot drifts in some areas. By the time it was over, Minnesota had $14 million worth of damage, and 35 people were dead as a direct result of the storm, 21 from heart attacks. But the winter of '75 was not the only one with snow and bitter cold. On the night of November 17, 1978, a surprise storm dropped 9 inches on the Twin Cities, and by the time that winter was over, almost 68 inches of snow was recorded, 20 inches above normal. There was 6 inches or more of snow on the ground for 122 days, a new record, and it stayed below freezing for 59 straight days, the second longest streak ever recorded. The record of 66 straight days below freezing was set just the year before. But in terms of snow and cold, the winter of '79 was the worst ever seen in the Twin Cities. Oh, the winter of '77 came close, though. It was from January 8th through the 12th that the mercury did not get above zero for 111 straight hours. The morning of the 9th was 32 degrees below zero, a temperature that has not been seen since then. The summer months were not about to be outdone by winter. The summer of '76 had one of the worst droughts ever seen here. The winter before it had very little snow, and spring very little rain. By the time summer arrived, brush fires were almost an everyday occurrence. The Department of Natural Resources literally closed down the state of Minnesota, making it illegal to hunt, fish, or use any of the parks in fear of starting a fire. And the 100-degree weather that August did not help the situation either. The 70s not only saw drought, but severe flooding as well. During a 40-day period in the spring of '78, there were 5 flash floods in the Twin Cities alone. Homes and businesses alike were heavily damaged, many of which did not have any flood insurance. It was also during this 40-day period that the Zumbro River in Rochester overflowed, killing 5 people and forcing 5,000 others from their homes. It was that city's worst natural disaster in over 100 years. If there was one thing to be thankful for in the 70s, there was no massive outbreak of killer tornadoes in the Twin Cities. The summer of '79 did try to change that, though. On the night of June 19th, as the power went out and the sirens came on, over a dozen tornadoes and funnel clouds moved across the metro area into the heart of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And it happened again on June 28th. Scores of homes and other buildings suffered wind damage, including $1 million worth to the IDS building in Minneapolis. But through it all, no one was killed or seriously injured. And along with the bad weather came beautiful weather too. Perhaps the best was the fall of '78, with record-high temperatures in the 70s well into November. And then there was the early spring in '77, with 88 degrees on Easter Sunday. Oh, there was one more weather event in the Twin Cities in the 70s. It was the introduction of meteorology into the nightly newscast. KSTP television went from a teletype and satellite picture in 1970 to the largest and most sophisticated television weather operation in the world in 1979. Over $1 million worth of equipment and a staff of 8 professional meteorologists are recording and forecasting the weather 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can look forward to even more weather advances in the very near future.
And before we let 1979 go, we put our computer to work to see what the temperatures did for the last year. And the middle part of it really was just above and below, but no real major changes. The big difference is how cold it was last winter and how warm it is going into this winter. And here are the official statistics from the National Weather Service for the month of December. The average temperature for the month was 26 degrees, over 7 degrees above average, the 11th warmest on record. The highest was 54 on the 10th, and 7 below was the lowest on the 16th. We had 13 days of a high temperature of 32 degrees or better. heating units for the month, well, they totaled out at 1203, and that's below normal by 235. That represents a 19% savings on energy. Precipitation, it was a dry month. It was supposed to be. 1/3 of an inch was the total out at the airport, and that's over 1/2 an inch below normal. Total for the year was over 31 inches, 5 degrees above normal, and we only had 3 rainy days for the past month. And here's the big one, the snowfall. Only 1.7 inches of snow fell officially in the Twin Cities. 7.5 inches below normal. Our season total right now is only 9 inches. And if you looked out your window today, you saw the same thing, clouds and fog. The fog has been lingering through Minnesota and Wisconsin and the Dakotas for the past week or so. But our stagnant pattern is now starting to change. We had a weak cool front come through the Twin Cities from the northeast, a backdoor front as we expected, and behind it the air is cooler and definitely drier. So we're looking for the sun to pop out tomorrow afternoon and continue for at least another day or so for Thursday and maybe even into Friday. Here's a view from space of all of this in the satellite sequence, and this starts at 7:30 last night. There were some clouds out to the west with a weak Pacific cool front and rain in the southeast and just fog hanging across Minnesota. And you can see as the lapse runs along, we've had just some high clouds moving what appears to be high clouds, but our latest picture shows some low clouds too, and there is some light snow flurry activity taking place. But on the KSTP color weather radar, right now within 143 miles of the Twin Cities, we're not seeing any significant precipitation, but there is some very light snow flurry activity in and around the metro area, but it won't be enough to measure. And under the snow flurries, we have a current temperature of 25 degrees. The dew point's 22, humidity's up to 88%. The winds are northwest at 6, and the pressure's rising. High today in the Twin Cities occurred at midnight in the weather almanac, and the official high was 31. The low so far is the current reading of 25. And both of those are still well above average, and officially a trace of snow in the metro area in the form of those flurries. Low temperatures last night show something you haven't seen in the past couple of days, a very distinct pocket of cool air up in Canada, while the rest of the country enjoyed generally balmy temperatures. And it's that cool pocket of air which is finally going to give us some kind of a change in our weather pattern. Here's what will happen. The cool front's going to barrel all the way down into Texas because a strong area of high pressure behind it is going to push it. In fact, the area of high pressure will center up over the Twin Cities by Thursday morning. So the temperature is gradually going to get cooler during the next 48 hours, and along with the cooler air will come some drier air. So we should lose the fog tomorrow, and the sun may pop out tomorrow afternoon, and we should definitely have it for Thursday. So, here are the details of the first of the year and first of the decade forecast. Tonight will be cloudy and cooler with fog and some lingering snow flurries. Lows of 18 to 23, northwest to north winds of 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, cloudy and cooler, but becoming partly sunny by late afternoon. Highs of 19 to 24, north to northeast winds at 5 to 10. For tomorrow night and Thursday, partly cloudy and colder. Lows tomorrow night 5 to 12, highs Thursday 17 to 22. Probability of snow flurries is 30% for tonight. We say colder, but really what's happening, we're just going back to the normal temperatures for this time of year. And it may even warm up by the end of the week again.
Yeah, and just think, 10 years from now, you might be going back to the beginning of 1980 and telling us all about remembering what a mild winter it was.
It's possible.
You might just be here then.